Hello, this is Luck Voice Videos. Today, I decided to talk about suspicion and how can suspicion can make make major changes or even sometimes even change the course of a nation. Of course, suspicion can impact to all of us at a personal level. If we act on our suspicion and not based on facts, sometimes we may be having a clouded judgment and we may not make the right judgment. However, the judgments people make with suspicion in the back of the mind can actually impact nations and sometimes change the history of a nation. I decided to talk about Sri Lanka. Now, of course, if you look at the recent past of Sri Lanka, we can find so many examples of decisions based on suspicion. But I thought of maybe let's go back a couple of hundred years. In fact, let's go back to the 16th century, to the middle of the 16th century, and talk about a historical character and what he did and how suspicion made a key role in the Portuguese establishing control of Sri Lanka. In the middle of the 15th century, one of the main warriors in Sri Lanka was a general named Weediya Bandara. He's an unparalleled warrior of high caliber in that century and once married to the daughter of King 7th Bunekabahu of the Kotte Kingdom. While he was a decorated warrior, he had his own sort of problems as well. So due to these various problems and infightings and so many military campaigns against the Portuguese as well as the Sitawaka kingdom of Mayadunne, once towards the end of his life, he had to flee the Kotte kingdom and go to Jaffna. Now in Jaffna, he found an interesting strategic opportunity to collaborate with the Jaffna kingdom. At that time, the Portuguese were establishing the control of the coastline of Sri Lanka. In fact, most of the coastline of Sri Lanka was under somewhat Portuguese control, and the Kotte kingdom and the Sitawaka kingdom were in a bitter fight to protect their kingdoms from falling into the hands of the Portuguese. So was the Kandyan kingdom. What while Sitawaka and Kotte were embattled in their infighting, the Weediya Bandara, who was in Jaffna, thought of a new military campaign. It was actually ahead of his time. What he thought was, why don't we build an alliance with the Sri Lankan Sinhalese army from the Kotte and the rest of the country with the Tamil army of Chagaraja of Jaffna? The reason being, Chagaraja had its own territory in Jaffna, and he was under fire from the Portuguese who were trying to overrun his army as well. Chagaraja wanted to protect his kingdom as much as the kings of Sitawaka and Kotte wanted to protect their kingdoms. So what Weediya Bandara thought was, let's build a unified army of Sinhalese and Tamil warriors and strategically attack the Portuguese military installations in the Colombo area or the Kotte area, as well as in Jaffna at the same time. Because if you attack the enemy from two fronts with same intensity, it's impossible for the enemy to sustain that attack, and most likely the enemy will withdraw or retreat. So his idea was to make simultaneous attacks on the Portuguese from two fronts and make them flee the country and liberate the country. And once the liberation is done, the Sri Lanka will become a de facto state of multiple states. Obviously, the Sinhalese kings will control part of the country and Chagaraja will control the other part of the country, but at least they will be free from the dominance of the Portuguese, who were at the time trying to assert control of the island, coming as an external invader. So this sounds like a master plan. King Chagaraja liked the plan. He actually warmly welcomed Weediya Bandara. They strategized how to do it and what kind of tactical measures are there. So they planned the war very well. So at the beginning, they decided to have a combined ceremony with all the Sinhalese and the Tamil forces coming together. So all the soldiers from Weediya Bandara's group as well as Chagaraja's group. It is said that in the folk tales, this army was as strong as 20,000 people, which is quite a significant large army at that time. So about 20,000 warriors got together to a swearing-in ceremony or oath-taking ceremony. Now, this ceremony, of course, included various cultural pageants, lighting of incenses, flowers, and you name it. Unfortunately, while this ceremony was going on, one of the incenses sparked a fire in a gunpowder dump behind the place that Weediya Bandara was there. And when that gunpowder dump exploded, because of that accidental spark, Weediya Bandara immediately thought that King Chagaraja's team and the army was out to do some harm to him. The reason was, although they were in really good terms and negotiating, both the Sinhalese and the Tamil leaders at that time had a bit of a suspicion in their back of the mind. So they were always harboring some thoughts of suspicion. Okay, are these guys unique? Are these guys authentic? Or are they trying to do something to me? When that firing happened, Weediya Bandara immediately thought that Chagaraja's soldiers are going to harm me. He sprung into action. He started fighting. It's said that Weediya Bandara is an unparalleled warrior. You cannot beat him in a face-to-face fight. In fact, it said that during that fight, he killed so many warriors who came to fight with him. Finally, while he was fighting with his back to a tree, somebody came from the behind and managed to kill Weediya Bandara by a javelin throw from the behind, because he could never be taken out in a face-to-face fight. So that was the end of Weediya Bandara, the decorated warrior who many believe could have liberated Sri Lanka at that time from the Portuguese occupation if that combined war with Chagaraja actually went ahead. Unfortunately, it didn't happen, and he was killed. And then subsequently, the coastal areas of Sri Lanka was finally under Portuguese control in a short while. Not only that, subsequently, the Portuguese managed to invade the Jaffna kingdom and capture Chagaraja's kingdom and assert control in Jaffna as well. So it looks like, had the correct decisions, or had the decisions were made based on the facts and not based on suspicion, Weediya Bandara would not have acted the way he acted. And then the soldiers of Chagaraja would not have acted the way that was done. Then the Sri Lanka's future from that day onwards could have been very different. Instead of having a country that was under Portuguese rule, Dutch rule, and the English rule for 450 years, we could have evolved into a different nation, different combination of nations, so to speak, because we will be liberated from that influence for a while. Now, if you look at that, suspicion still makes a big play in our day-to-day decision making at a personal level as well as policymakers' decision. So what we have to be cognizant about is that as much as Weediya Bandara's suspicion towards the Chagaraja's soldiers played a vital role in changing the entire course of Sri Lanka's future from 1500s, the suspicions that our politicians and the bureaucrats have in their mind today will change the future of Sri Lanka for hundreds of years to come. While Weediya Bandara's decision cannot be reversed now, the decision that will be taken today can actually be facts-based and not based on suspicion. And hopefully that would make the right decision for Sri Lanka in the future. So this is a thought. Obviously, you, depending on what your political affiliation or religious affiliation or racial affiliation, whatever you have, you may have differing opinions. But that's what happens. That's what suspicion is. When you look at things from a colored glass of what kind of a political stripe or a religious ideology or any other ethnic ideology, you see things differently. And that's how the suspicion happens. However, I encourage you to maybe take it away and think about it in a different way. Again, you may agree or disagree. If you agree or disagree, either way, we would like to hear from you. You can put a comment in the Luck Voice Canada Facebook page, or even under Luck Voice Canada videos that we post here. You can post your comments, and I welcome any comments and conversation and discourse. We intend to provide some more videos of this nature in the coming weeks, and we would like to get involved in some conversation and present similar ideas and share these ideas with you for a healthy discourse. Thank you.